So today we're talking about one of the funniest prank wars in television history, Jim versus Dwight from The Office. And honestly, this episode proves why their rivalry is absolutely legendary. The scene starts with pure chaos. Dwight is literally destroying a phone while everyone around him is screaming for him to stop. And somehow, instead of calming down, he gets even more intense. That's the magic of Dwight Schrute. He takes every situation way too seriously, and somehow that makes everything 10 times funnier. But then the episode shifts into something even better. Jim Halpert's classic prank energy. Jim reveals that he actually owns wigs for every single person in the office. Every single person. Which is both hilarious and honestly a little concerning. But that's exactly why Jim is such a great prankster. He commits fully to the joke no matter how ridiculous it gets. And then comes one of the most iconic prank sequences ever, the meatballs. Yes, meatballs. Jim secretly covers Dwight's desk with meatballs just to mess with him in front of an audience. And what makes it even funnier is Stanley quietly enjoying the whole thing in the background. Stanley almost never laughs at anything. So when Jim finally discovers the exact type of humor Stanley likes, it becomes this weird little victory for him. The moment Dwight realizes he's been meatballed is absolutely priceless. "You've been meatballed!" That line alone feels like something only this show could make funny. And Dwight's reaction makes the scene perfect because he's angry, confused, offended, but also weirdly determined to solve it like a detective. Then Jim tells him to look for his stapler. Classic move. At this point, Dwight probably should have learned not to trust Jim, but somehow he falls for it every single time. And honestly, that's what keeps the prank dynamic so entertaining. Jim is calm and relaxed. Dwight is intense and dramatic. Together, they create comedy gold. But the episode doesn't stop there. Dwight eventually decides he's going to get revenge by timing Jim's personal activities during work hours. Yawning? Timed. Talking? Timed. Existing? Probably timed too. And the funniest part is Dwight truly believes he's being professional. Meanwhile, Jim treats the entire thing like a game. Their chemistry is what makes these scenes work so well. Neither character would be as funny without the other. Then there's another underrated moment involving Stanley accidentally drinking orange juice from a coffee mug and not even realizing it. Jim immediately starts questioning whether Stanley notices anything happening around him. That's such a simple joke, but the delivery makes it hilarious, because Stanley lives in his own world, and somehow that deadpan energy steals every scene he's in. Then we get one of my favorite fake announcements ever. Michael suddenly gathers everyone together and announces that their branch on Jupiter is up 8,000% in sales. Which obviously makes no sense at all, but everyone still reacts like it's an actual achievement. That's another reason this show works so well. The Office feels completely absurd, but the characters act like everything is normal. And then comes the final prank twist. Jim pretends he won an art contest. Dwight gets emotional, angry, confused, basically every emotion at once. But suddenly, Dwight attacks. And for 1 second, it looks like complete chaos has broken out in the office. Until, gotcha. Turns out Dwight was pranking Jim back the entire time. And honestly, that moment is amazing because Dwight finally beats Jim at his own game. The entire office prank war suddenly comes full circle. That's why these scenes are still so popular even years later. The writing is smart, the reactions feel natural, and every character adds something unique to the comedy. Jim brings sarcasm, Dwight brings intensity, Michael brings complete nonsense, and Stanley brings silent judgment. Together, they create some of the funniest workplace comedy ever made. This episode is a perfect example of why The Office became such a massive hit worldwide. Even simple things like meatballs, staplers, or fake announcements become unforgettable moments because of the characters and their chemistry. And honestly, few comedy shows have ever matched this level of timing and energy. If you love clever pranks, awkward humor, and chaotic office comedy, this is peak television. And Dwight versus Jim? Still one of the greatest comedy rivalries of all time. Because with Jim and Dwight, peace never lasts longer than 5 minutes. One of the funniest things about this entire episode is how seriously Dwight treats every single prank like it's a real attack. Jim throws meatballs on his desk. Dwight reacts like the FBI should be involved. Someone moves his stapler. Suddenly, it becomes a full criminal investigation. That's what makes Dwight such an incredible character. He has absolutely zero ability to just let things go. And honestly, thank God for that, because the reactions are comedy gold. But let's talk about Jim for a second too, because people always say Jim is just the normal guy in the office. But normal people do not spend this much time planning psychological warfare against their coworker. This man had wigs prepared, fake setups prepared, hidden pranks prepared. Jim wakes up every morning and apparently decides, how can I emotionally confuse Dwight today? And somehow, it always works. But the funniest part? Deep down, Dwight actually kind of enjoys the rivalry. Because if Jim ever stopped,
Please video like, share, comment and subscribe this video and next part for coming soon.